right, ladies and gentlemen, we will call this meeting to order. Can I get a motion, please? The agenda for the March 15th, 2022 regular meeting of council be adopted with the addition of closed session item M1, intermunicipal collaboration, and with the relocation of item G6 to the first spot under reports from administration. Councillor Byron will make that motion. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. Can I get a motion, please, that the minutes of the March 1st, 2022 regular meeting of council be adopted as presented? Councillor Taylor will make that motion. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. We have no public hearings, no delegations, no reading of bylaws. We will go to reports from administration, and we will have G6, which is our 2021 assessment for 2022 taxation update, presented by Aaron Steblik, Compass Assessments.
Thank you, Council. Just a chance to introduce Aaron Steblik from Compass. He's our assessor. As a small town, we tend to go out and do independent contractors for our assessment rather than in-house. And so I've asked him here tonight to present to you the 2021 assessment that's used for the 2022 taxation year. Over to you.
Thank you, Sarah. Good evening, everyone. Nice to be back in person presenting these type of things. I hope all of you have enjoyed the last 2 years and ready to look forward to your 2022 taxation. I think I've shared the screen here. Is everybody seeing it, or is that it? There we go. Didn't double click. Alrighty, for council's benefit here, we've put it together an overview of what has changed from last year's assessment to this year's assessment. At the beginning, on this first slide here, we'll discuss the just general assessment process. I understand there's a couple new councillors from the last election. So just a broad overview of how the assessment works for everyone's benefit. We'll look at the overall changes in both the non-residential and the residential class. We'll look at the residential models, the non-residential models, and then we'll touch on the hotels and motels. They were probably the most impacted property over the last couple of years. Just again, an overview of what's happening in that inventory. Edson does have quite a few hotel properties, so it's worth noting. And then just a few notes of what we're looking forward to in the next couple of years. So the assessments are done on market value. It's called ad valorem, and it's what that means is it's valuing according to market value. We're valuing only the real estate of the property, and we're assigning a value that's fair and equitable for property taxation. This is the most recognized way of doing this as globally as the fairest way to distribute the tax burden. The assessment that we put forward, it's a market value, again, as of July 1st of the previous year. So the 2022 assessment or taxation year reflects a July 1st of 2021 valuation. Also, it reflects the condition of the property as of December 31st. So as the property stood December 31st, 2021, as if it had sold on July 1st, 2021, sorry. The legislation we follow, everyone's fairly familiar with the MGA. That's the larger umbrella piece of legislation. And then there's the two regulations that fall under that umbrella, the matters relating to assessment of taxation regulation and the matters relating to assessment of complaints regulation. So to implement. We use land title sales for our verification of value. We then compile that information. We strategically group properties of similar construction and use together, and then the sales within those groupings determine the assessment for the entire group. Each year, we send out a combined assessment tax notice in Edson, about the middle of May, and then the roll is open for 60 days for inquiries and for assessed persons to file complaints if necessary. We're also available year-round, but more specifically during that time to answer any inquiries that come up and deal with any complaints that may arise. So for this year, our total overall taxable assessment in the town has gone up about 2.42%. We've got a little bit of modest growth in newly constructed properties or rebuilt properties, and both in the non-residential and the residential side of the inventories. Most of that 2.42% is made up of just general market value increase throughout all inventories. The residential inventory, again, this is on whole of the entire grouping of residential properties in town. This includes changes for new builds, demolitions, and market value change. We're up about 1.59%. Non-residential properties, again, for the entire inventory, we're up about 1.24%. So fairly steady in the valuations throughout town. No major spikes here or there. It's been just modest increase. Here are a couple graphs that kind of break that down a little bit more. This is as the assessment as a whole. This isn't residential or non-residential. This is your entire inventory. So on the top graph there, there's 8.64% properties have no change. Some 20% have a 0 to 10% reduction. 69.56% of properties have a 0 to 10% increase, and then very minuscule amounts over or below those numbers. On the bottom graph, again, this just breaks those same figures on the top chart down by dollar categories. And the majority of properties change between $1,000 and $10,000 in assessment. That's not tax dollars. So again, very modest increases across the board. You'll see in a few more slides here that the transactions actually support that change. So this is the residential inventory. These are the sales that happened between the cutoff for last year's valuation and this year's valuation. So there's 151 sales that were used in that time frame. We have a median assessment ratio of 99%. We're legislated to be between 95% and 105%. So we're right in the middle there, and that's where we want to be. And it shows that the assessments are effectively mimicking the market. The coefficient of dispersion is another legislated statistical measure, and that basically measures how far apart our lowest sales versus our highest ratios are. 8.1 is a good COD. We're legislated to be at 15. So again, we're showing that our lowest sales ratio versus our highest sales ratios are fairly close together. We don't have a whole bunch of dispersion in sales versus our market value. Price related differential, we call it PRD. This isn't a regulated or legislated measure, but it's one that we rely on to show that high value properties are being valued similarly to low value properties. So if this measure was above 103%, we would be saying that we're overvaluing low-end properties and undervaluing high-end properties. If we were below 97% on this, we would be overvaluing high-end properties and undervaluing low-end properties. So we're valuing all types of properties very evenly with this 100% ratio here. Now, when we open it up to the 3 years of sales that we are legislated to use within our valuation model, we have 395 sales between July 2018 and July 2021. Our median percentage changes slightly. We're at 97.7. Again, very reflective of market value. Might be estimating slightly lower than transaction prices, but that gives your assessment a little bit more stability in knowing that the assessment there is fair and reasonable to market value. COD, again, we're legislated to be at 15, that drops to 7.3. So again, we're very, there's not much dispersion between the sales and their assessments. And our PRD is at 100.6, so we're valuing the low end, similar to we're valuing the high end. Nobody's being overvalued or undervalued. Moving to the non-residential section, from July 2020 to June 2021, we had 11 sales occur in the municipality. We're at a median percentage of 96.5. Again, the assessments are showing that we're in line with market transactions. Our COD is quite low at 4.3. So that really shows that the valuation model that we're using for the non-residential properties is very much reflecting what's happening in the market for every type of property that's sold. When we open it up for 2018 to 2021 for the 3 years of legislated sales, we get double the sales. We're up to 22. Our median percentage is at 97%. Again, the COD is 7.1. We're legislated to be at 15 for non-residential as well. And the PRD, again, is almost 99%. So it's showing that lower value properties, again, are being valued similarly to high-end properties in town. Now, our hotels and motels. This slide last year was not filled with a whole lot of reason for joy. But this year, we're starting to see a little bit of light, and I hope that it continues to move forward in that direction. So with the travel restrictions over the last year and 2 years, it's continued to put pressure on hotel motel properties. However, we did see over the last year from the hotels that reported to us that their occupancy rates did rise slightly. So therefore, the valuations on these properties have risen because they're starting to generate more income again, and their tenancy is improving. So the trend that we've seen is there was a loss of value across provincial, national, municipal inventories, and the recovery has been slow due to variant spread and all those pleasant things that we've had to deal with. Well, when I made this report, anticipation of lifting restrictions may help the industry through Q2 here of 2022. So any restrictions pretty much have been lifted in the province of Alberta. We're hoping to see travel increase here, people moving around and starting to get back to life as we knew it. So I'm really glass half full kind of guy that I think that we're going to see some recoveries even further in this inventory over the next couple of years. Industry is still looking at about 2024 for full recovery from the pandemic. Also, oil and gas showing great signs of boost right now. So this also helped maintain the occupancies in the hotels in town. But with the industry being a little bit more active these days, that will also be something to look forward to next year to see how that boosts properties in Edson specifically. Local, as I just spoke to, the oil and gas industry hardships have been putting pressure on it, but again, we're seeing a kind of a turnaround there. If it's short-lived, it is what it is, but it will still help this inventory and the businesses in this sector. For our assessment, we've seen approximately a 10% increase on all hotel properties across the board. Some a little bit less, some a little bit more, but generally speaking, that's where the increase. So that's starting to chip away at that roughly 25 to 30% loss that we saw last year. So they're coming back, and I'm optimistic that our current conditions are going to boost those properties and in turn boost their assessments for us in the coming years. Looking forward, we're looking forward to the reduced and eliminated health measures. We're looking to a return to the typical conditions for any COVID impacted inventory. The residential and non-residential seem to be reacting normally again. So it's these very specific industries that were very hard hit that we want to keep an eye on, and hopefully we have a good turnaround there. For us, we're always reviewing market trends within the local environment, provincially and both nationally, to get a pulse on where things are going. And we also have our ongoing commitment to maintaining assessment valuation standards in town and providing the town of Edson with the highest level of service we can. With that, I'll leave it to council to ask any questions.
Well, thank you very much for your presentation, Aaron. All right, council, do you have any questions? Councilor Starr.
Through the chair to Aaron. Aaron, on your the actual percentages you gave me, which looks good. So this is based on sales only, correct? So on commercial and residential?
Which slide and which percentage?
Either one of them, just when you got your racial stats, like I'm understanding like in 2018 to 21, but when you do your percentage of market value, that's based on sales only?
Correct.
Okay, so
that ratio is, here's the assessment for the property that's sold, here's the sale price, and what's its relationship. So 100% is the assessment is exactly what it sold for.
Correct.
If it's 98%, it's 2% less than what the property sold for. If it was 107, it was overvalued by 7% kind of thing.
The only reason I ask is because a lot of people said, like, you know, hey, you're assessing my property at this value, but if I'm trying to sell it, you know, that's what they argue, you know, mainly commercial buildings. They compare theirs to one that's sold, and then they're questioning, but I'm being assessed, but if I tried to sell it, you know, they might say it's 500,000, but I can't get 250 for it. So how would you answer that argument to an individual?
Well, I mean, that's kind of a loaded question.
Well, it is, yeah. Yes.
But we would try to look to the market to see what similar properties have sold,
Correct.
where the individual ratepayer is coming from in their argument that their property isn't worth perhaps what the assessment is, understand their perspective on that, and hopefully we can come to an understanding at least of where the valuation technique is coming from, what support we have for it, and then I can also understand where the ratepayer is coming from. We can't always resolve those type of questions because someone may have it dead set in their mind that it's 250,000. We've had those conversations with people before, and then they go and sell the property for 500,000 that we have it assessed for. So it's one of those things that we need to speak with the ratepayer and understand where they're coming from in their assumption that the valuation is lower.
Right, and that's where I agree. You only base it on anyone can imagine, but what it actually sells is real dollars. But thank you for your explanation.
Anybody else? Any questions, comments, or concerns? Well, certainly a trend in the right direction. So thank you very much for your presentation, Aaron. Just a quick question for you. Do you get a lot of inquiries from the public once the notices go out, or is it pretty quiet?
It's year to year. This year, again, everything's been kind of steady. I think most people in town with 1% to 2% increase on the whole, that's reasonable to assume that, you know, okay, I look at my tax notice and say that my value went up a tiny bit. Okay. It's when we have years with bigger swings that we have more engagement from the ratepayers. So last year we saw a decrease on both the non-residential and the residential side, and we haven't heard anything from anyone. But you know, if we do hear from people, then that's what we want to. We want to be able to explain, and we want to be able to engage with those citizens so they understand where we're coming from.
The other question I had is, of course, we do the combined assessment notice. Is there any benefit for splitting that out from your point of view?
There's two schools of thought on that. There's a benefit in the fact that you can separate a person's mindset of I want to reduce my taxes versus I want to reduce my assessment. So when you go through the complaint process, it really has nothing to do with the taxation end of things. The assessment review board and myself can only deal with the assessment portion. So when the assessment is mailed separately, that's the only number that the ratepayer has to look at, and that's really the only number that can be argued. And then with sending early, you can hopefully get your complaints out of the way before you actually levy and send the tax notices. So there's some efficiencies there on the end of the year. There is an additional cost to splitting those that you're sending two mailers kind of thing, but that's really the main meat and potatoes of sending them combined. You send it once, we still go through the same process, or we split them, send them twice, but we've consolidated the complaint period at the beginning of the year, and the rest of the year we just deal with collection.
Do you find that most municipalities are doing combined, or?
Most rural are still doing the combined. And I'm calling you guys as rural because you're not a bedroom community of the major centers or anything like that. I think more of the major centers and higher population places are going towards a split notice for the advantages of streamlining their processes instead of being involved in active hearings when they're going to be doing valuation for the next year. From the previous year, they've gotten those out of the way in the beginning of the year. So I really have no preference on that. It would be up to administration and the town here to decide on which route they'd like to take. It would involve a little bit of me shifting when I do my valuation in order to get you guys your assessment in time to mail for your assessment notices.
All right, perfect. With that, thank you very much for your presentation this evening. Go ahead.
I just wanted to flag with the council that there's actually no motion on the floor.
Yeah, I know that. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you very much, council, and enjoy the rest of the meeting.
All right. Can I get a motion, please, to accept the report for information? Councillor Chenard makes that motion. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. We are now moving on to, can I get a motion, please, that council approve the notice of decision with respect to development permit application number 0062022 and the lands legally described as plan 1494 AC block 10 lots 33 to 40 with the addition of the use motor vehicle and equipment sales, service and rentals under proposed development. Councillor Bevan will make that motion, and we have Ms. Resick with us to present to us. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Sahara, and good evening, council. I am just going to bring up my presentation.
Aaron, you don't have to stay if you don't like to.
I'm interested.
Okay, sounds good. No, you have to get back, so you're more than welcome to.
Share screen. All right. Okay. So again, good evening, council. Tonight, I'm here to recommend an application that is in the direct control district. Here we go. Oh. Excuse me, I think I don't have the right presentation here. That folder, that thing. I think it's on the wrong. Oh, there it is. Thank you. Sorry about that. All right, I'll start over. Good evening, council. Tonight I'm here to recommend an application in the direct control district, specifically located at 5101 3rd Avenue in Edson. So next slide here. The town of Edson land use bylaw is what regulates the use and development of land and buildings within town. No development other than those listed in the exemptions of section 14 can be undertaken unless a valid approval permit is issued. And within the direct control district, all proposals will be received, considered, and decided upon by council. Before you tonight, there is a draft development permit for review that you would have had in your RFD package. And we'd also like to say, in drafting the final notice of this decision in front of you, the use motor vehicle equipment sales and service and rentals will be added. This use means exactly what it says. It's for development that is specific to servicing, selling, and renting motor vehicles and equipment. So with this addition, there are no changes to the draft conditions because that use was a part of the review process for this proposal. So in the big picture, grand scheme of things, with this strategic plan, it does align with Edson's strategic plan for diverse and strong economic opportunity and public engagement in governments. So next you will see a map of Edson, and the parcels filled in red are the direct control districts in town, and specifically the one on 5101 3rd Avenue that we're looking at today. And so on that parcel, you can see here is the building and the floor plan showing the units 1 to 5 within the building, and which uses apply to each unit. We worked with the landowner, the applicant, and formed the business owners to ask about the existing uses on site to best fit the uses that are in the bylaw. We determined that these uses encompass the existing uses for the business. So. And this map is showing a map from our municipal development plan. It is the future land supply. So this proposal and the uses on the site align with our future plans for Edson. So there were landowner concerns that were expressed for condition 5 specifically, and that has to do with the paved parking areas and access there too. So a condition on the permit is that the provided parking be hard surface to the same or similar material as the access or the road that they are accessing from. So to conclude everything in my presentation, we do recommend administration is recommending council approval to approve development permit 006/2022 with an added use for motor vehicle and equipment sales, service, and rentals through the provided notice of decision in front of you for the change of uses to the existing 5-unit building at this location. And thank you so much. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Ms. Resick, for your presentation. Open the floor to questions, comments, or concerns. Councillor Petition.
Yeah, through the mayor to administration, I'm not sure who wants to answer it. What triggers the development on a property that's already developed? Is it the business license?
Through the chair. So yes, a business license was referred to the planning department to see if there were proper development permit approvals in place. And it was determined that there weren't any, and there was an expired permit. So this is bringing them up to regulation through the development permit.
Go ahead.
Further questions to the chair of administration. So if Edson didn't have a business licensing, we didn't have business licenses in Edson, and the landlord wanted to rent a facility and they would just rent it, would we be going through a permitting process at this time?
So, through to the chair. So if we didn't have a business license process, they would still require a development permit, because all development for land and uses in Edson require a permit. It's required from the Municipal Government Act, which has every municipality create a bylaw passed by council to ensure development is regulated in town.
Right, thank you. Any other questions, comments, or
Further
concerns?
questions, but go ahead.
Go ahead, Councillor Petition, or sorry, Councillor Sharp.
Through the chair, mine is similar. So what I'm looking at, and I guess because the landowner did contact me and I did contact Mr. Kitlitz, where I'm a little bit confused and stumbled is that they want to rent the shop out. It was there, it was vacant. And I guess according to new rules, the building, correct me if I'm wrong, but once a building is vacant, you got to get a development permit to rent the building out. So when I'm looking at 5, where you got to pave the parking lot, they're not doing a major development. They're not changing the building. All they're doing, the exterior stays exactly the same as it's been for years. All they're doing is they're putting a tenant in the building. So I agree, we are going after people to pave parking lots, but in this case, they're simply renting the building out, and the rules come that you must do a development permit, but really you're not developing the property, you're simply renting it out. So I'm looking at, we're encouraging people to fill up empty buildings, but yet this person is renting it, and we're punishing them, saying that, you know, paving this lot is a very large lot and our town needs to be paved, but that would be an unfair request on this landlord to pave his entire parking lot so we can get a tenant.
Mr. Kitlitz, you want to go?
So, yeah, sure, through Mr. Mayor. So I think what the key here is a change of use permit. So I'll give you an example that might help. So let's say I built a brand new commercial building and it was for retail. Let's say it was a 7-Eleven or a convenience store.
Correct, yeah.
I decided to sell that. Someone else buys it and they want to turn it into a restaurant. Well, that's a totally different use, which has different parking requirements and different facade requirements. Could be a number of different things. There's building code requirements. So what a change of use permit does is make sure that that new use can still be accommodated on that piece of land from a development perspective. So essentially what's happened here, the business license is just a trigger for it.
Mhm.
As was already stated, it's still required to have a developer for a change of use. So if it went from a 7-Eleven to a Red Rooster, that's not a change of use. Okay, that's just it's the same use, just a different brand name. But if it actually substantially changes the intensity and the use of the land, the development permission process allows us to make sure that that's done correctly. So in terms of the requirement for the hard surfacing, basically the existing land use bylaw requires that to happen, and council is the only one that can change that. In fact, it says, unless otherwise specified by resolution of council, all land districts in every street must have off-street parking be hard surfaced. So.
All right, thank you.
Can I just do
One
follow-up? It's change of use, but that building has always been similar use because it was automotive repair, and now I understand it's automotive cleaning. So it's not as if you're going from a restaurant to something like I'm not gonna question like that, but it's a similar use. It wasn't a drastic use. It's still similar. I went from fixing cars to cleaning cars, so that's what I'm confused on.
Counselor Taylor.
Through the mayor to administration, and I think I'm sort of spinning off what Councilor Petition might be talking about. The developer had, or the business owner had, it was approved in 1998. Expired 3 years later. And the only thing that triggered it was a business license permit. So we don't have anything else within our bylaws that triggers the renewal of it. Shouldn't that already be? So, okay, it's just taken 20 years. I guess I'm confused.
Go ahead, Ms. Russell.
Through the chair. First, I'd like to say the previous permit has expired in 2001. So that means that there's no development permit approved for that site. So essentially, this new application or this notice of decision will give approvals for the uses on that site. The uses have changed, so some of them are staying the same, but there are some that are changing, the retail portion and the repair service portion for the cleaning businesses in the building. And we do have mechanisms in our bylaw to enforce. It is one of those instances where if there's complaints that come to us, and we absolutely look into the property, there were no complaints on file.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Counselor Petition?
Yeah, through the mayor to administration, I'm always challenged when businesses come and change out of there, so either people didn't have permits or it wasn't caught before. Business owner comes in, they want to rent a bay, they come to the town, they license, now the landowners get slapped with, well, it's Edson, knowing the earth is probably a $400,000 parking lot. I'm challenged by that for the simple reason that it's already existing, it's got multiple businesses on site. If he had put a 400,000, that's going to impact every single business on that site. If he was willing to do it, and my gut would be, if it was my business, I'd say, I guess I'm not renting it. That doesn't help business growth in our community. It doesn't help our community. And I get our process, and I get the idea of if it's a brand new development, absolutely we're going to hold them to it. But it's a bit embarrassing as a municipality because technically right now in front of his property is actually gravel because we dug a big hole there, so we haven't even patched that yet. So I would argue from that point if I was the tenant, but I am fully in support of this. If I'm challenged by all the conditions, and to me the conditions, I get everybody's following the rules, and that is, to me, if we're doing a new build, absolutely all makes sense to me. So I'm 100% in support of this program and in support of this permit. I'm just challenged by item 5, and if item 5 is the one that you say, your information, your words, that is the biggest hangup for the owner, I would definitely support this because I did support it's a direct control and to get it back into compliance, but I would support it without item 5. So I guess in order to change that, I guess I would have to make a motion. If you've entertained a motion, Mr. Mayor, I would like to make a motion to amend our current motion to remove item 5 from our conditions, and I'd make that motion to amend it to approve less option 5, which is the hard surface.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Any questions, comments about that motion? Councillor Beyer.
Through the chair to administration, regarding the amended motion, is there something in here that would kind of trigger this to get looked at again? Or if there was maybe if it became unsightly for some reason, maybe there's enormous potholes that, vehicles are sinking in or something that we could readdress it if it went into like a poor condition?
Through the chair. So once a decision is made on this permit, there's no chance for appeal. If there are complaints on the property in regards to your inquiry, then we would definitely look into those and work with the landowner and the business owners to rectify that and correct that complaint.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I'm hearing the question of property. Also, I guess it could be triggered again. The condition can be triggered again by another developer on the site.
Yes.
So let's say the landowner decided to renovate or add to the building. The way the bylaw is written right now, we would bring back a condition that said hard surfacing would be required. So until this bylaw changes, that requirement's always going to be on the approvals.
Anybody else have any questions, comments, concerns? So I'll speak to this. I hear where Councilor Petition is coming from in terms of how this was caught. And this is an existing development that's been there. But my challenge is that we've had a building sitting there since 2001 without an invalid development permit. How does that happen? First of all. Second of all, I want to see businesses filled and these buildings filled. But at the same time, we need to start enhancing our properties. And in this particular case, I know this property has sat for years looking absolutely horrible in the downtown core. So where is the responsibility on that property owner to ensure that that property is looking in a positive light in our community? We had looked like a wrecker's yard there for many, many years. So I'm not as I'm going to support Councilor Petition's motion because I do want to see businesses and I don't like how this was caught. But our landlords and our building owners need to start taking some pride in their properties. And if we're not going to adhere to our land use bylaws and we're not going to ensure that paving occurs in our community, we're going to continue to be left with the same product at the end of the day. The only reason I'm going to support Councilor Petition's motion is because it is an existing building. And based on the times that we're at, but I'm challenged that we didn't catch this sooner, and I'm challenged when people don't want to follow the land use bylaw that's in place, because we can end up with gravel parking lots for eternity if we're never going to follow the rules in our community, and we got to start, and it comes to the town of Edson as well, filling our own messes out there when we're tearing into pavement that we're not patching appropriately. So just my comment. Councilor Taylor.
To the mayor, to administration, has the landowner developer expressed any concern to item number 5?
Through to the chair, yes.
Yes.
Yes, they have.
All right, any other further questions or comments? Okay, so all those in favor? Motion carried.
Wait, go ahead to vote on the
main motion. Yeah, so now we have the main motion. Daniel, can you read the main motion to us now, please?
The motion is that council approve the notice of decision with respect to development permit application number 006/2022, and the land is legally described as Plan 1494 AC Block 10, lots 33 to 40, with the addition of the use motor vehicle and equipment sales, service and rentals under proposed development, and the removal of item 5 from the conditions.
All right,
What was that first part again?
go ahead, Councilor Petition.
No, it's hard to read from where I'm at.
Why did you guys do that earlier, making me squint?
All right, any other comments, questions, or concerns? I'll just finalize a comment here. I'm happy to see this building. I think almost all the bays in this building are filled, which is positive. We got some new businesses that are in that building. That's positive. We have some long-standing businesses that are in that building, which is positive. But we have made a significant concession here, and I hope that the landowner, and I'll be watching this property closely to ensure that it is upkept in an appropriate manner. And I hope that we also repair the street in front of that business as well. So with that, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Motion carried. Can I get a motion, please, that council direct administration to apply to the Municipal Climate Change Action Center Climate Resiliency Capacity Building Program for the Climate Risk Assessment and Water Conservation Initiative projects with a total grant request of $160,000. Councilor Byer will make that motion, and we have Mr. Fisher with us.
Want me to get Steve free?
No. I'm gonna touch the screen.
Good evening, council. Oh, I'm gonna share it first. Yeah, good catch.
Stevie needs you.
Budgeted for more AV stuff.
Good evening, council. My name's Pat Fisher. For those of you who don't know me, or anybody following along at home.
It was the first time we've seen you in person in a long
Do you want to
time.
hold the clinic up like this? Yeah,
There,
I
I know who you
I'm the senior manager of infrastructure here for the town of Edson. Not usual that I would come to you and say, hey, we've got an opportunity to find money all the time. Usually I'm coming out with my hands out, so this is exciting to me. So I'm just gonna go over basically some background on climate resiliency and our existing programs. Go over the proposed grant program here, the Climate Resilience Capacity Building Program. Go over the proposed planning and initiatives projects that we would like to apply for. And then just review the proposed motion again. So the climate change stuff is kind of broken into mitigation actions and resiliency actions. So mitigation actions are things that we would do to reduce the chances of climate change from occurring. So this is where most of our work has happened to date with the energy management program. So this is where we focus on inventorying our greenhouse gas emissions and coming up with things to reduce just how much greenhouse gases we're consuming. The resiliency side is actually adapting to the impacts of climate change. So, for example, one of the things that might come out with climate change is more intense storms. So having an understanding of what those impacts are for our community is really important to being able to react to them. And that's part of what we're doing here. So resiliency is focusing on, do you know what, we're not likely to catch and reduce all of the impacts of climate change. So let's get tougher and deal with it. So the Climate Change Resiliency Capacity Building Program is a grant program that just launched from the Municipal Climate Change and Action Center. They're the agency that sort of oversees climate change initiatives from Alberta municipalities. We currently are being funded for our energy manager program through the MCCAC. And they're providing funding to municipalities to increase their internal capacity for addressing the resiliency stuff. So to help us understand where climate change is going to take us and come up with things and implement things to get tougher. So for each municipality that applies, you can apply for up to $80,000 per project, and then up to a total of $160,000 for as many projects as you submit. So they've kind of got these two limits. We're proposing, there's two streams in the program. So one is on the planning stream. So this is about understanding the assessment of climate change risks and coming up with initiatives that might improve things for you. And then coming up with a resilience plan for the community. So this might be, you know what, on our new facilities, we might need to do, implement these kinds of initiatives. And I'm just guessing here. We might need to change our building envelopes to deal with driving rain, or have green roofs, or improve our storm systems on the buildings, or look at rain capture things to deal with droughts. So that's sort of on the planning things, and it'll be really broad strokes and work on like big picture things. And then the strategies and initiatives stream is really focused on actions about being tougher. So if you identify some risks in your community, or you know some risks, what are some things you can do and implement to improve that situation? So we're proposing a project kind of for each stream here. So the first project we're planning is a climate change resiliency assessment. So this one is the big picture of how climate change is going to affect our community. So this one, I've got some more slides or more details on it, but it gives us a big picture. This is what is going to climate change is going to look like in our community. This is how it's going to affect our infrastructure. These are some things that we can do to improve our situation. And then one of the areas that I'm fairly confident we're gonna see as an issue, just evidenced by last summer, is water conservation. I think it's really important that we're gonna have to focus on this. And this is one area where we could hit the initiatives and start doing something, because I think there's a lot of space to be gained there. Benefits of applying for these two projects. We have, if we're successful, we would have an opportunity to bridge our current energy management portfolio with the additional identified work. So basically our grant funding for our energy manager expires in September. So this might be a way to bridge that onward and adjust the portfolio a bit so that we're focusing on all of the aspects of climate change that we might see. Climate change assessments in different forms are actually becoming necessary to apply for grants. So on our multiplex project, we're required to do a climate lens assessment. And basically anything under the ISIP funding or a lot of federal funding actually requires you to do some sort of assessment. So if you're putting something in, we want to know where your greenhouse gases are, if this is going to improve it, and then we want to do some funding based on that. So having this information helps us react to those things. So understanding our planning framework and how it affects us gives us better information to build those documents that are necessary to apply for the grants. And then both of these proposed items kind of fit into our big picture. So we know that we are facing a little bit of a water crunch. And the water conservation fits in with that, strengthening our base, bettering our infrastructure, and fitting a lot of the strategic priorities. The climate change resiliency one, again, that supports all of our infrastructure, gives us information on, you know what, maybe we need to oversize or increase the size of our stormwater system. Or we need to increase the intensity of our storms in our modeling, or different things like that. And that information helps us plan better. So we've got the two projects. So this is a breakdown on the resiliency assessment specifically. So the intent is that we would get a report that assesses the risks and opportunities that climate change gives us recommendations to deal with the changes that we're going to see. So again, changing building envelopes, increasing storm, adding things like on-site storage. This one requires the use of a consultant in addition to some staff time. So we did a sort of a total project cost estimate and then what our funding ask would be. The total cost, project cost, includes an estimate of all the internal resources we would use. For example, and some of them are already funded. For example, some of it might be my time for getting asset information for the consultant. It might be our operator time for gathering some information from the field for them in terms of water levels or stuff like that. It includes some communications time so that we can bring this out and put notices out to our residents and do some consultation. And then a bulk of it is a funding request for $80,000. So this includes an amount for a consultant. That would be about 65 of the $80,000. That's based on a cost estimate that I got from one of the approved proponents. We would tender it out and see where we landed. And then the remainder of that ask is to support our staff resources where we can. So the additional $16,000 worth of ask there is basically already funded stuff, right? On the water conservation initiative, this one we gave a little bit of a work plan here, just really high level. So we would start with undertaking a benchmarking of water use in town, figuring out where our high water users are, what they're using it for, if there's things that we can do to improve it. We would collect information from those high use customers to see what are you doing with it? Is there things that we can improve for you? Is there things that you can do to improve? Do you need to use all of that? Are there other sources? Do you need to use fresh water? Can we find you some raw water or storm water to use? We perform feasibility assessments on different opportunities that are identified. So we would understand, do you know what, if we could do this thing, it might cost this for the community, but this is the greater impact and savings. And we would develop and implement an action plan for following up on some of those feasible options. The funding request is for developing the planning and doing the feasibility stuff. And then any stuff that requires costs that come from that to implement in the future would be things that we would have to find money for as we could or thought was appropriate. So again, we've got the total project cost of $106,000 on this one. Again, that includes an estimate of all internal staff that might be used on this. There's a little bit higher cost on this one for the total cost because we'd be using a lot more of our operators' time, pulling meter data, checking it, and doing audits and compiling some stuff. And we kind of believe that we would be doing a little bit of education stuff and prepping. You know what? Maybe you don't need to water your lawn every day. Maybe you need to do it once a week or twice a week, and coming up with some useful initiatives that we can work with and get that information out in an effective way. Again, this one is funding request of $80,000. That's the max we can do. This would be basically to apply it as wage subsidy for that energy portfolio to extend that and rework it. And then the balance has a bit of extra time. So in terms of timelines, we put these kind of together as part of our application package that would obviously shift depending on if they approved us or not, or when they approved us. So we would start with the climate risk assessment from October to March. That would basically give us the bigger picture, and then the water conservation initiatives would follow after that. Once we've kind of confirmed that it is an issue, and to limit some rework if there, or duplication of work if there's some things that come out of the climate risk assessment that would also apply. In terms of consultation, we did have a preliminary meeting with the MCCAC, the Climate Change Center, the grant administrator, just to see if these would be a good fit for them and fit in the program, and they thought that it sounded great. They encouraged us to get our applications in right away. It's first come, first serve. And then if they needed more information, they would reach out and ask. One of the steps is approval from council. So our proposed motion tonight is that council direct administration to apply for the municipal climate change action centers, climate resilience capacity building program, which is quite a mouthful for the climate risk assessment and water conservation initiative projects, with a total grant request of $160,000.
All right, thank you, Mr. Fisher, for your presentation this evening and all the work that Mr. Riom is doing as well. Council, questions, comments, or concerns? Councillor Beyer.
Thanks, through the chair to administration, to Mr. Fisher. I'm very supportive of this. I'm glad that you're able to apply for this grant. I think anything we can do to reduce our exposure to the climate and energy and reduce our expenses as well is fantastic. My question is regarding the climate risk assessment. So would you anticipate that the information provided there would be able to cross over to our asset management plan and help highlight either the greens, yellows, or reds that need to be addressed?
Through the chair to Council Beyer. So the climate risk assessment would give us more of a framework of how climate change is going to affect us. We might see some changes in those risk assessments when we loop back and do it. But the big thing is that it gives us an idea of where we should be focusing some of our efforts to reduce the impacts of climate change. So if the biggest impact to our system shows through that assessment that storms and increasing storms are going to cause us issues, then that's where we would focus. If it shows us that droughts are more likely to be a concern, then we would focus more effort there. But it would be in addition to our current A&P documents, not directly integrated.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chouinard.
Through the chair, the $160,000, I know what you want it for is to employment. Can we use it for any other purpose? Like, I mean, the 160, it's to employ the individual that's been helping us along, but I'm just questioning, would the 160 be used for anything else we could do in that regards?
Thanks. Through the chair to Councilor Chouinard. Not all of that 160 would be being used as wage subsidy. So part of it would be, but 65,000 of it would be used for consultants to support the projects. So in the climate risk assessment, there's quite a bit of detailed assessment that we're not environmental scientists. So we would need a little bit of support from outside parties. And so that's where it would be focused. It's not intended, like if we decided, you know what, we should implement a subsidy for low flush toilets, for example. I'm not saying that's where it's gonna go. If that's where we ended up, it wouldn't be able to be used for that subsidy.
Okay, good answer. You have my full support. Thanks.
Anybody else, any questions, comments, or concerns? Councilor Moore.
Through the chair to Mr. Fisher. Could this conceivably include for the new multiplex, a rainwater collection plan to be, go into effect at the new facility to offset the water use in some way?
Through the chair, I believe the multiplex has its own statement of requirements already. And if that's not already identified, this shouldn't impose another condition. But it might let us know that in the future, you know, like if we're doing a big building, we should incorporate something like that.
Sure. Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilor Taylor.
No question, just through the mayor, just a comment to say that I am very supportive of this. Thank you to administration for being proactive with this. I've said before that climate change, and I think we said in the presentation that we're going to continue to be affected by climate change. I've seen in the summer, I've seen in the winter, and if we're not proactive, we're going to have far more issues with this. So thank you to administration for your work on this, and I'm looking forward to seeing the implications. Thank you.
Anybody else? My comment is that, you know, this just ties into our strategic plan. And you don't receive 100% of the grants you don't apply for. So applying for this, we get the grant, it's a plan, and that will allow us to apply for other grants hopefully in the future, because climate change is becoming a bigger and bigger issue. Whether or not you agree with it or not, there will be funding available, and we see it with our infrastructure every day, and it's becoming a bigger and bigger challenge. So I'm happy that we're applying, that we'll have a plan in place, and that we'll be able to take advantage of that. I know other communities are looking at us and saying, hey, how are you guys doing the things you're doing? It's because we apply for grants and we have plans in place. So when those funding streams open, we're able to be first off the mark to get those funds. So I'm in full support. With that, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Motion carried. Can I get a motion, please, that council amend the 2022 capital budget to include the Glenwood Park project, the amount of $435,000, with $108,750 to be funded from the revenue sharing reserve and $326,250 to be grant funded. And we have Councilor Byer that's going to make that motion, and we have Ms. Byers with us via Zoom. Welcome, Tanya.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As you've already spoken about, on July 20th at the regular meeting, Council had authorized administration to apply for a funding opportunity to support replacement of the Glenwood Park Outdoor Arena. In this application, or if this application was successful, Council further authorized the transfer of $108,000, which would be 25% of the project cost, from the revenue sharing reserve as the town's contribution to the project. So for those who weren't on Council last July, I'm going to just give you a quick presentation so that you can understand the scope of the project. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we can, Tanya. Thank you.
Okay. So here's the Reinventing Glenwood Park rec and infrastructure. A big part of applying for this grant was we had very limited opportunities for recreation. Indoors, during the pandemic, the schools were closed. It was really difficult to, have people engaged in activities. So we were really looking for grants that would improve our outdoor spaces so that we could have a lot of safe activity, and I guess just improve our structures overall. So as you can see here, I'm not going to go through all of them, but the project that we did put forward for Glenwood Park, it met all of the expectations of the grant at hand. And I'll just show quick pictures, I guess, here of Glenwood Park in the state that it's in right now. We definitely want to replace these wooden boards and also put the cement base in it so that it's far easier to flood, and we'd have a longer skating time because we'll be able to get the ice in sooner. So this is a multi-sport system that we're looking to put in. And so what it will allow us to do is have like pickleball, basketball, that sort of thing happen during the summer months. And then obviously for skating in the winter months. And this is just an estimate of, I guess, the timeline that it would take to create this project. So in April, we would be looking at getting the geotechnical work done, contractor selection, then moving on to site preparation in May, installing the base, the cement base that we spoke of, and also the structure installation then would go in September. And it would be our hope that by fall that this structure would be up and running. And then obviously we would have some grant reporting to do afterwards. So as mentioned, the total project cost is $435,000, and $108,000 and $750 would come from the revenue sharing reserve, and the external contribution of $326,250 has been secured. Really excited to share that. However, we can't share the source of it just yet. That will be forthcoming. Any questions?
Thank you very much, Tanya, for your presentation. Very exciting. I'll open the floor to questions. Councillor Chouinard.
Through the chair, so you got the grant funding of the 300,000? Good job. I like the mayor's comment. If we don't apply, we don't get it. So good job. I remember us talking about it. So let's move forward with it.
All right, anybody else? Questions, comments? Councillor Bart.
Through the chair to Ms. Byers, thank you for proceeding with this. That's very exciting. Are there any other grants available for the same thing in other locations in town?
Good question, yes.
Through the chair to Councillor Byer, we had actually applied to 2 different grant streams for this project, and this is the only one that we've actually heard back on. So I guess there could be hope that another one would be forthcoming, but we're feeling pretty lucky that we have the one we do.
Councillor Petition.
Yeah, through the chair to Ms. Byers. This is a fantastic project. First I've seen it, and I think it's well needed in that area. Do we still have I know we built a building back there years ago. We had old blue in there to flood the ice. Do we still have that capability out there? So when the new rink goes in, we'll be able to cut it and flood it once in a while? Or is that long gone?
Go ahead, Ms. Byers.
Through the chair to Councillor Position, I'm really sorry, I don't have that answer, but I can find out and get back to you.
Is it still there, Trevor? Go have coffee tomorrow and find out.
No, it's not. We have it, but it's not.
All right. This is super exciting. It's going to be a year-round facility. Ties back to our neighborhood parks plan, ties back to our strategic plan and our asset management plan. And it's good for our financial plan with $300,000. So there are lots of check boxes marked off. So with that, I will call the question. All those in favor? Motion carried. Can I get a motion, please, that council direct administration to enter into negotiations on a 3-year funding agreement with the Edson Seniors Transportation Society in the amount of $66,000 per year? Councillor Petition will make that motion. And we have Ms. Byers with us once again.
I'm just going to share my screen here as well. Please hold. Okay. So as you're all aware, back in February, Mr. Jim Gamoka, Vice President, oh, sorry, I just have to move my screen a bit here. Vice President of the Edson Seniors Transportation Society presented to the committee regarding funding for a part-time administrator and casual part-time driver to enhance services and ensure sustainability of the society. The committee referred the matter to administration. The Edson Seniors Transportation Society provides a critical service in our community by serving seniors and vulnerable individuals in need of accessible transportation. As a funding partner, administration has a long-standing relationship with the STS to provide accessible transportation services for our vulnerable residents. Over the past 4 years, it has become evident that their volunteer board is in need of administrative support to manage the ongoing operations of the society and ensure sustainable growth. The financial background. So in 2021, the town contributed $16,000 in the form of fuel and insurance to ESTS and a further $15,500 in the form of a transportation grant to support the society operations. This amount, so $31,500 in total, is replicated in the 2022 interim budget, and it was approved at the November 25th budget meeting. So the financial implications of this request are as follows. ESTS has requested the continuation of that $16,000 for fuel and insurance, in addition to $50,000 annual contribution to enhance staffing and administration of the society. So in order to meet this obligation, the town would need to increase the 2022 budget by $34,500 for a total annual contribution of $66,000. If council supports the recommendation, the additional funds required, which is $34,500, they would be added to the 2022 final budget and then also carry forward to future budgets. So over the years, I've been involved in quite a lot of community consultation. I've been at the table for the Medically at Risk Driver Initiative, and I'm also currently working with a regional transportation group to explore ways to enhance transportation for vulnerable individuals in our region. So that's looking more at, you know, from the corridor of Jasper through Hinton, Edson, through the county, and also to Edmonton. So we're not just looking locally, but also regionally, and how we can work well together. Administration has also gathered information from comparable communities, and our annual contribution to public transportation is very moderate in comparison to our neighbors, namely Whitecourt and Hinton. So in terms of public engagement, I did attach the June 2020 transportation survey, which highlighted many service gaps. I'm not going to go through the findings there. I just shared for your information. Accessibility and availability were indicated as barriers for you seniors and those with disabilities for getting around the community. Both the survey and letters from community agencies indicated that a more robust or enhanced service would help those segments of the population be more independent and more connected to the community. And I'm just going to add to that, you know, the new board that ESTS does have in place, they are strong on governance, and they are definitely looking forward and trying to make plans to enhance the service that currently exists. But in order to do that, I would strongly support the request. And so here you have the proposed motion in front of you. Any questions?
Thank you, Tanya. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Councillor Chouinard.
Through the chair to Tanya, I'm very pleased that we're supporting them on the 15,000. Just a question on the 16, is that a fixed amount? Because with fuel costs, because I believe in the past, we just paid the fuel and it will fluctuate according to cost. So is that 16,000 fixed or flexible?
At this point, we have it earmarked at 16,000, but I would say it is flexible because it is going to depend on usage. So for example, during the first year of the pandemic, when we had very low ridership, people weren't really getting out and about, so that number was a bit lower. And then as people started moving again, you see that increase. So it is a bit of a fluctuating number. And you're absolutely right. I think for the future with gas prices, we could see an increase depending on ridership.
Good, thank you.
Anybody else? Questions, comments? Counselor Taylor?
Through the mayor to administration and council, I'm in favor of the motion. I understand, obviously, your budget's very tight, but this is I think Ms. Byers said it correctly. This seems to be a group of dedicated volunteers who really want to make this system work. And I'd be scared to see this organization fall apart and then, somebody else, namely perhaps the town, have to take it over for a substantially larger amount than the requested amount from the organization. So I am very much in favor of this.
Anybody else? Questions, comments? All right, thank you very much. I'm also in support of this motion. As was stated, I don't think we want to have municipal bus service because we can start adding a whole bunch of extra numbers to the request here if we wanted that. And I think it's really important, and I've stated this before, with nonprofits in our community, we need them focused on delivering services where we can provide some stabilization is through the funding stream, and this is an important piece to that, as we've seen through our public engagement survey. And we do have a great group of people that are really trying to look at the bigger picture in terms of the community and build off of a great organization that's served our community well. I know our budget, to put it lately, is horrific, going to be horrific this year with what's going on with cost escalations and government downloading. But this is an absolutely core service, I think, in our community that we need to support. So with that, I will call the question. All those in favor? Motion carried. No information items, no sundry items, council committee reports, going back to March 2nd. Oh, sorry.
We have the item of declaration of the petition.
Oh, sorry, I just wanted to. Yeah, no, I missed that. Sorry, I had the assessment thing on my screen here. Can I get a motion, please, that council accept the petition declaration report as information? Councilor Byro make that motion, and Ms. Everett, would you like to speak to it?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The administration received a petition on February 14th, and it was with regards to the restriction exemption program. And the purpose was to remove the restriction exemption program and replace it with a 1/3 capacity restriction, which would include masking and social distancing, or a combination of both, the rep for adult activities and the 1/3 capacity masking and distancing for children's activities. The review of the petition has been completed, and the review included several requirements from the MGA, and those are essentially that signatures must not be received more than 60 days before filing by the date of electors of the municipality, representing at least 10% of the population, providing specified information for each signatory, as in full name, signature, address, phone number, email, and signing date, and including witnesses for each signature and accompanying witness affidavits, and featuring a signed statement of the petitioner's representative. The petition has been declared insufficient. It has not met the requirements as per the MGA. That concludes my report on this item.
All right, thank you, Ms. Beveridge. Any questions, comments? Do we know approximately how many of the residents were town of Edson residents?
Certainly. So a total of 865 signatures were received, and about 50% were town residents.
Okay. And as with any petition, only the electors in that municipality are eligible to sign and be valid as in terms of the petition. So with that, I will call the question. All those in favor? Motion carried. Now we will go to council committee reports. And let's start with Mr. Moore today.
Thank you. Going back to March 7th, Youth Council had another meeting, and it was at Galloway Station Museum, which was very nice.
Thought you were gonna see the pub.
Yeah, right. And it was nice to see all the familiar faces again instead of on a screen. And we got into some good discussions, 3 or 4 different groups. Peter, I'll ask you this, 3 or 4? 3, that's what I thought. And a variety of different topics, environmentally, trees, I think there's 600 seedlings or something. And there was talk about how they were going to be distributed, and people will, it's always exciting to plant new life is in the tree, and trees are going to be our future in a way with the climate change and such. And that was a good one. And what I thought, I laud you, Peter, for the little exercise we did to kind of get to know our group. And it was kind of like, how will I say it? What is the word for that?
Dramatic, is that the word? I don't know, dramatic, enthusiastic, I don't know.
Well, yeah, it's kind of like an improv, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was good. And our group got to, every group got to do different things like a helicopter, and I did the sound for the helicopter, which is kind of like this. Could either be that or Tarzan, I don't know, probably not. But no, it was an interesting way to get people together, and I applaud you for that. And so our different groups are going to be working on our different projects, and we'll let you, as it comes a little bit closer, we'll all let you know with our next meeting how it's going to turn out. And I thought that was a great way to to get together and to finally relate to each other in person. March 9th, I was virtually on the fourth and final meeting of the municipal program, which oriented current and past administration and council members about how to manage money, budgets, and such. And I found that very educational. How we can help administration and how administration can help us in these processes. And we can always benefit from that type of information. And I thought it was very, very useful indeed. And that's all I have.
All right. And the food bank today.
Yes, of course, on the food bank today. Oh, can I say something about that?
Yeah, sure.
Yes. Well, this building is very interesting to see this building as it is now, totally renovated, and everything is in its proper place, shelves and such, and we have about 35 or 39 clients now or something like that per week, and it works out to about 4 times that in family members, and they go there every Tuesday and appointment. Some just show up, only some at the time, and it's a very very efficient operation the way they put these food hampers together, and couldn't do that without the help of the community. Very very generous community as far as businesses and individuals help stock this food bank, and the food bank works in conjunction with the main terminal. We get some help from them out of the Duke, and I understand they supply the entire province. So that's really quite something. And I think the first food bank came into existence in 1968. For all those who are history buffs, and since then we've spread across the country, and a very needed service. And it's very good for young families and and older individuals as well. And it runs the gamut from the ages that take advantage of that very very needed service. And all members of council were there, and administration as well. And yeah, we enjoyed our tour, and maybe even you might see some of us show up in the future and be volunteers at that very very essential service. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Petition.
My report's very simple. Other than the committee of the whole last week, I toured the food bank with everybody else, and I feel like I can add to what Councilor Moore has said. Councilor Taylor.
On March 7th, I had a youth council meeting with Councilor Moore. We did have a presentation from Patty Moans from AHS. who organizes volunteers for people to sit with the residents and work with some of the residents at their long-term care. And there's constantly looking for volunteers if anyone interested to contact her at AHS, and of course some of the youth will hopefully take part in that. I'm glad Councillor Moore liked the activities I did there. I do that for a living. And on April 5th, our youth council will be coming to make a presentation here, and I will let them explain their projects. It's going to be exciting, so I won't dwell too much more what Councillor Moore said, but I think the projects they're working on are exciting, and I can't wait to hear their presentation. On March 8th, I attended Committee of the Whole. March 14th, I attended the Yellowhead Regional Library Board meeting where they discussed financial statements, went over their plan of service, which again, I think I mentioned last meeting, there's lots of connections between our strategic plan and the plan of service that they've created. And today I toured the food bank as well, and I've got more to add to what Councillor Ward says. That's my report.
Councillor Evan.
March 3rd had an RC meeting. The 8th was town meeting, and also the tour of the food bank here. Like Councillor Moore said, it's nice to see it way it came. I remember way back when it was an RCMP building. And what it looks like now is totally one.
Was that when they were riding horses still?
Pretty much. We had a bylaw to.
And stables in the back.
Yeah, exactly. And I had a bylaw with horses on the boulevard too in Edson, so, yeah. That's my report.
Thank you, Councillor Meyer.
Thanks. So on March 8th, I had the Committee of the Whole, and March 15th, today, I guess, the food bank here.
All right, thank you, Councillor Sharp.
Just an update on the food bank. It looks a lot different than the time that I had to bail out Councillor Bevins out of there. But what I was really impressed is when it used to be the Chamber of Commerce building, was last time I was in it, the update in the amount of money to spend to space, because it used to be in the basement shooting food. So the food bank was very great. I had the Committee of the Whole. March 9th, we had our first in-person Chamber of Commerce meeting, which was very nice to have. Just a reminder, tomorrow is the AGM. I don't know how much room's down there, but you can, if there's space, you can attend in person or Zoom. And the update trade show, they're about 2/3 sold out. They're moving ahead with their Summerfest. And then the question was asked if the Rotary get Rotary reps, they may or may not do an August one. They will be having a Christmas party. The potential date is December 9th, and they're going to bring dueling pianos, but there'll be more information brought forward. And that's it for my report.
All right, I missed the youth council meeting, but I did want to mention that Weyerhaeuser stepped up to support youth council with their tree initiative, providing 600 seedlings. So I do want to thank Weyerhaeuser for that. Thank you for Councillor Moore and Taylor for covering for me at that. Very last minute thing came up. March 9th and 10th, the Alberta Municipalities Municipal Leaders Caucus was held. There were about 400 people in attendance. The evening before, Edmonton removed its masking bylaw, and everybody was super happy about that. Number of cabinet ministers were there. Was able to ask a question regarding Crown prosecutors and rural crime, and talk about the provincial police force. And Minister Shandro, the new Minister of Justice, who's been on the job for 2 weeks, I guess, says he is hearing concerns about the so-called consultations. And when I spoke to him one-on-one, says he would be willing to meet regarding this following our consultation at the end of the month. And I hope all of council is there. But what we're hearing from mayors, it's not much of a consultation. It's more, this is what we're doing. So, and there will be no political representation there. The Premier spoke, the Leader of the Opposition, Rachel Notley, spoke, as well as, was Rachel there? No, I missed.
Joe Cece.
It was Joe Cece. And Mr. McIver spoke as well. It was a good event. Edson was supposed to host a regional mayor's dinner in February, but due to COVID, it got canceled. So we ended up doing it one of the evenings since we were all in Edmonton. So that was really good with the CAOs and the mayors. And it was really good conversations on how we can further collaborate and work together. We're all facing the same challenges. And I think big part of that conversation was we can't continue doing things the same way. We have to look at things differently and collaborate more. And then the food bank tour today, and a big thank you to all the volunteers and everybody in the community that supports the food bank. One of the things they spoke about was the great support they get from the Edson community, including the town of Edson, which provides the building and pays for the heat and the power to the facility. So unfortunately, more and more families have been utilizing it with COVID going on, but we have good support and I'm glad it's there. With that, we have no financial items. Questions from media and public regarding items from this council meeting? Go for it.
I'll start with an easy one. The Glenwood Park project, I'm wondering if you guys have any timelines on that, when that would be started, how long it would take?
We have Tanya on the line, so she is, what is your title now, Tanya? The Manager of Community Services and Grant.
Yes, thank you. Our timeline, we're hoping that we will get started in April with like getting the groundwork and whatnot in place. And then we're hoping that it'll be open by September.
If Mark doesn't have any, I have a couple more.
Mark, do you have any questions? See, he's online there. I'm not seeing, not hearing anything. Okay, go ahead, Adrian.
Okay, with regards to the development permit, I have Councillor Boyce playing in my head. Are you guys worried about setting precedents? What is to stop any or future development permit applicants from citing this permit as precedents to not complete their hardscaping or beautification?
Councillor Petition, you want to go for it?
Through the mayor to the media. I think this isn't a brand new, they're not developing a property. This is somebody trying to rent a stall in their property. If they were, I think I wouldn't have made the motion if they were doing a redevelopment or adding on to the building. The parameters would have changed. Because at that point, that's a new development. They're only having a development because they went to get a business license and they want to rent out space. So in this case, I don't think we're setting a precedence at all. It is a direct control area where other areas in the neighborhood, we wouldn't have any influence. But really at the end of the day, this is just they're trying to rent a property. They're not doing any reconstruction or retrofits to the building or a new development. So I fully support hard servicing in our community, but when buildings are established and they have vacancies, a vacancy looks just as bad as an unpaid lot. So if we can put businesses in there, maybe you won't see the lot because they'll have things parked on top of it.
All right, go ahead and state.
Through the mayor to Councillor Pizzuti, as a follow-up to that, then what kind of incentive are you providing landowners or to update to keep up the rentals then?
If I may, through the chair, you need to help me understand your question.
Well, if you can let them, because it's going to be rented, if they don't have to comply with the land use bylaw, then what is going to stop any other landlord from saying, I don't have to comply with the land use bylaw for my renters?
I think that's a little out of context, because what we have is they want to rent a property, the permit that they've applied for, everything falls within the parameters of the use in the area. It was all there. All this was a condition. And there was a whole list of conditions. And that was the most expensive condition that was on there. So if we put it into context in that property, knowing the earthness down, and a good example, if you think back when Napa had to reduce the developments, they added on, they had to pave their parking lot. Their parking lot fell apart and it's gravel again. So were we successful? Right? So in this case, you have a situation that landowner would probably, if he had to service it, would put it in the least expensive, cheapest format possible, and it would end up reverting back to that same kind of state. So really at the end of the day is we don't want to be a council that holds back development. We want it to be a council that is forward and progressive. And filling vacancies helps people pay their taxes and makes that property more valuable even without the asphalt, because all of his bays are filled. So those to me are benefits, and that's why I made the motion. If he was doing a redevelopment and it was a large scale project, I would not have made that motion. But really at the end of the day, if they didn't apply for a business license, then they would be none the wiser. It wouldn't have triggered anything. We still have an out of date for 21 years.
So if I can follow up on that. I'm not as I voted in favor of this, but I do share the concern about lots not being paved and the rules of our land use bylaw being followed. But my further concern is that we've had businesses in that building since 2001, and not until now have we noticed that they did not have a valid development permit. The use of that building isn't changing from what's been in there for the last decade. So as you may recall my comments, this is us making a bit of a concession here because it is an existing building. But I would expect that with the building being full, that property owner ensures it's maintained properly, and hopefully with the generating revenue, he will be able, or the building owner would be able to invest in it. They have made some upgrades to the exterior of that building over the years, and I want to see that continue. And we also know that we've come through some pretty horrific times in terms of the economy, and we want to be a place that is open for business. So trying to work with that, and hopefully we do have things like the non-residential tax incentive bylaw, that if people are going to do major developments or renovations, there is huge tax benefits for them to do that. So if this property owner decides they want to do a complete renovation, including a paving of a parking lot, that there might be an opportunity there for them, or any other non-residential property in our community.
Sorry, one last.
Sure.
And Mr. Mayor, this one is to you, with regards to one of your comments saying that you will be watching to see how this property is being used and developed. I'm wondering what kind of enforcement possibilities do you have as a municipality to ensure that properties in general, including this one, are being upkept?
So there's a term in the conditions of the development permit that it needs to be upkept. We also have our community standards bylaw. So a lot of this is complaints driven. As I noted, we've made a concession, so I will be keeping an eye on it, because I have been quite disappointed over the years in this particular property with how it has been upkept, but hopefully that will not continue into the future. I don't know, Mr. Kitlitz, if you want to speak to some of the parameters in regards to development.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'm trying to think, I don't think we have an unsightly bylaw, do we? Unsightly premises bylaw?
Community, is a community standard.
Yeah, but there is actually different ones too.
Yeah.
So the community standards would be the one in the land use bylaw, the two bylaws that we use to deal with non-compliant or unsightly type situation.
Right, anything else? Anybody else have any thoughts? All right, thank you. We will take a motion to go into closed session. Councilor Petition, all those in favor? Motion carried. All right, motion to adjourn, Councilor Petition.
Hey, what's that shiny spot?
Motion carried.